Welcome to Roofing and Exteriors Influencer Series. I'm Chief Editor Rachel Williams. Throughout the series, we'll be bringing you interviews filmed during the International Roofing Expo from thought leaders. On this episode, I'm speaking with Charles Antis, who is founder and CEO of Antis Roofing and Waterproofing. Charles, thank you for joining us.
I'm excited to be here, Rachel.
Great. Well, I wanted to start off by asking you, what training programs can roofers implement in their business to ensure safety?
Well, safety is such an important topic. Thanks for asking, because safety is everything. You can't do good quality without safety and vice versa. So I think it's important that you employ those OSHA training programs, the 12-hour, the 24-hour. It's also important that you get involved with the NRCA and with the Pro Certification Program. When you train your employees to do the detail correctly, part of that is doing it safely. And look at all the edge detail where things fail. We have to make it safe and we have to do it right. But if you want to be heard, because at every day we'll have like 40 job sites going on, and I have 2 guys on one side, 4 guys on one side, maybe 12 on another. How do we know that they're all safe? And in truth, they won't be. They'll take chances unless you get to know them. And I look at our market in California, where our market is in Irvine, California, and we have mostly Hispanic labor, first generation and immigrant labor, 57%. And nationally, but in our market, it's literally 100%. And so if I want my people and my families protected and to be safe, then I need to get to know them. And that's what we do. We listen to our people. We know their stories. I know that most of my employees grew up in Mexico, and they lived in central Mexico, and about 12 of them, when I took them each to breakfast and asked them their stories, they told me this thing about their father, this similar story. I heard it a dozen times. They'd be woken up at 3:30 a.m. on the ranch, where they're going to go to school at 7, but the father wakes them up and he says, "Hey, Narciso, will you come to work with me a couple of hours or an hour and a half before school today?" Knowing that his son's only going to get as little as 3, probably not more than a 6th grade education. And this boy, with that moment of honor and respect with his father, learns this great level of presence and pause on people. And at Antis Roofing, it is critically important for us that we know our people, that we listen to them, that we love them. 2 weeks ago, we had an employee event, and we had a dunk tank. And I went in there, and I was teasing the employees, and they were dunking me. And I remember it hit my tailbone, and it hurt a little bit, but I kept doing it. I did it 10 times because I really wanted these people to know that I'm all in with you, and I love you. But after we ate, Narciso Alarcon, my lead guy that runs all the field, he got in the dunk tank, and I watched him, and everybody got up, like all the employees got up, and they were all throwing balls, and I watched him fall in that dunk tank where I was hitting my tailbone 50 times. 50 times. And I have that story, and all my men have that story. And after that, yeah, we were dunking him there. It was crazy. We were hitting our tailbones. But that's why I know we're going to be safe on our roof, because we know our people. And that's the biggest thing I can say to you is know your people. Where are they? Who are they? Know their story. Share your stories together. And that's how you build a safe, strong culture.
You know, one thing that reminds me of with knowing your people is knowing what they're concerned about and what challenges they think they're going to face. So as we look ahead to the next quarter and the next year, what are you seeing as challenges in the market that you're going to have to face in your business?
Well, I see a lot of challenges. First of all, there's this massive uncertainty about change. We see disruption of the supply chain, we see all sorts of challenges, and we see other businesses completely folded or reinventing themselves. And so for us, we expect this is going to be the most dynamic change period in our lifetimes. We're going to see change upon change. We're going to see some of the labor challenges answered by technology improvement. I believe we're going to see massive, eventually, lift in pay. But I think this year there's a lot of supply chain disruption. And this year, I think the question on that is, will it get worse or will it get better? In my opinion, through this changing, we're learning how to cope. And this is not just us, it's the supply chain. As the supply chain learns how to cope, right now what's happened is people are hoarding. Contractors are hoarding. Suppliers are hoarding. They're not hoarding because they're trying to hoard. They're just trying to order material. They're ordering extra material. And so right now you have little pockets of material. So I see that leveling out really soon. I think there's some evidence that it is already. I don't think we're as tight as we are. It's not like we have a chip for a car that we can't fill like the automobile industry. So I'm super optimistic. But the only way that I can drive my team is to be optimistic and to teach a change mentality, exponential change upon exponential change. And the way you do that is with purpose. We donate Habitat roofs. We donate Ronald McDonald House roofs. We deliver food for Second Harvest Food Bank. We hold blood drives. And if you hold your team together, now you can be adaptive. And I think that's my number one strategy, is be together as a family. And the last part of that is, if you're going to be together as a family and love your family and keep them all employed, then you have to say, go out and try new things. And that means fail. It means failing is no longer a bad word. Fail fun, fail fast means you try and you go, hey, whoa, this didn't work so well, but look what we learned. Because in a good market, when it's raining all the time, we don't know what's working. So that's the way I'm trying to just keep my strategy, keep my mindset to be shifting daily. And by doing so, I think we're going to be stronger in culture, stronger in brand, and stronger in performance on the roofs.
So what are some other ways that owners can support their employees?
Well, I mentioned some of them. A long time ago, I had a hard time in my business being heard, because I always had this deep need to fill causes. Like when somebody came to me with a leaky roof, I couldn't deny them just because they didn't have the money to pay. And at first that was something I was sort of ashamed of. I wouldn't tell my people that we weren't getting paid all the time, but eventually it became known, and because I told them a story. I told them this story that I've told more than anywhere else. I told them why I donate roofs. And I know most roofers that probably are listening to this donate roofs. We don't want to talk about it, but we donate roofs. But 32 years ago, when I started my business, I got a call. And a woman had leaks in every room. I was excited. And this call was so important that I had weather stripping on that home bedroom I'd converted to an office, because every call was so important. And this lady had leaks. I was excited. I went out the next day, but as I'm driving to her house, I noticed that the homes were getting smaller, more disheveled, more graffiti. As I got close to the neighborhood, I turned on that street where the home would be, and I just saw dead grass in this box home. And I was disappointed, but I still knocked on the door. And then 3 things happened that I'll never forget. A woman answers the door, and she's middle-aged with a tired expression, and she just looks tired and sad, and I didn't know what to say. And as I'm trying to think what I'm going to say, I'm hit with the second impression, which is this wave of mildew like I've never smelt. And now I'm like, I got to get out of here. What am I going to say again? As I'm thinking what I'm going to say now, turning, I feel a tug at my finger. I look down, and in contrast to this mom and me, there's this little 6-year-old girl with an ear-to-ear smile that has a visitor in her home, and she pulls me inside. And I didn't want to go because I felt threatened, but I went because I couldn't deny this little girl. And she pulls me into this undersized hallway and turns right into this room. And I knew it was her room because there was a My Little Pony poster on the wall that she was pointing to. But at that exact moment, I looked down and I saw a moldy mattress where she slept. And that was a moment I'll never forget, because I was frozen. I couldn't move. And I didn't move. I was threatened. I had a mortgage payment to make in 2 weeks. I didn't have the money to help this family. I wanted work for the business. And then the mom walks back in. And when I looked at her, in an instant, something came out of my mouth that I never said before. I said, I'm going to take care of your roof. And then I remember I hung there. The little girl didn't know what it meant. The mom didn't know what to say. And I wondered if I just told a lie, because I didn't know if I could. I didn't have any employees yet. But I went up on that roof hoping it was a hole, and it was not. The roof, I could see plywood everywhere. It needed a new roof. And that day I got like 5 volunteers on the phone, and that weekend we went out and gave that family a new roof. And what happened there was really remarkable. I didn't tell that story for 20 years. But what happened is, whenever I ran into one of those siblings, there were 6 kids in the house. And I think there were 5 or 6 volunteers that went up with me. But whenever I ran into one of those volunteers or one of those siblings, it was like a moment, like a pause, a high five, a like family moment. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have a company of any size yet. But today, looking back, that's what we have in Amtis Roofing today. That's culture. we know why we exist. It's to keep families safe and dry. And when you know why you exist to keep families safe and dry, then you bring purpose into your company. Now when someone answers the phone in marketing or in customer care or in finance and there's a hardship or anything, and there's a family that has a leak, there's not this big worry about what we're going to do. We know why we exist. It's to keep families safe and dry. We get that family dry. And I think there's power in that, because once you start listening to why I give, once my employees heard that story of the little girl with the moldy mattress, then they started telling their stories. And we'd get someone in accounting that would one day in a team meeting tell a story about an aunt who had a terrible cancer scare. And then this person in customer care who didn't like that person in accounting because she was always kind of rude, all of a sudden they get her story. They get why she's drawn that way, why she's built that way. And then there's this amazing thing. It's like, well, I'll be danged, I really like Gladys. I've loved her a long time, and you don't even know. And so when you do that, that gives you power. That gives you this ability to adapt and move into the future. And that's what we try to do at Antis Roofing. And so we do it through gives, massive gives. You know, the Ronald McDonald House give, which over 200 of us in the country are taking care of in the NRCA and the Roofing Alliance, taking care of the roofs of all the Ronald McDonald houses and all 165 freestanding Ronald McDonald houses. We do it through our local Habitat gives, where we've donated the last 85 families over the last 12 years. In fact, in 2 weeks, we're going to be driving the 500,000th nail along with Kevin Burlingame of Eagle Tile, where we're going to celebrate those 85 families, that 75% going back to further their education. We're going to celebrate that $1.2 million in roofing we've given. And when you start to have impact like that, it gives you wings. It gives your brand wings. It gives your performance wings. It gives your culture wings. And you know, we say this thing at Antis Roofing that every nail matters, because it's true. You know, there's 200,000 parts on the average roof that we install on a condominium, and there's nothing similar about two roofs side by side, spec the same by two different contractors, if there's purpose in a company. And we look at it like, you know, every nail can matter, and when it does, when you put a roof on that way, the roof can last to full warranty. And I know manufacturers love that, contractors love that, customers love that, the community loves that. And I think that's how we build our business model at Antis Roofing.
Well, thank you so much for sharing those powerful stories. I appreciate you being here today.
A lot of fun, thank you.